Hello everyone. We've been making a game called Curvish, which we started at, Brian over there, the Global Game Jam in January at the GCU. And over the last 9 months, we've taken it through a bunch of different events and awards processes. Today we pitched to the UK Games Fund for £25,000 so we can fund the development further. And we'll find out tomorrow, which is really exciting. So we're going to just talk a little bit about these different events, what we've maybe done right or wrong, especially in terms of going forward, and where we're at now. Yeah.
So we started the Global Game Jam. We got invited by Brian, who got a few passes for the DDS to go, and we came up with the idea of one player, one mechanic, and one level, which is the original thing, because we just wanted to get something finished, which was probably going to be the hardest thing in 48 hours. So I think at the time I was playing a lot of Surf, which is a mod for CSGO. Alex was playing a lot of Ori, and what were you playing? Dota. So we were playing a lot of that, which kind of gave us the idea. So no matter what the theme is, it kind of reflected what we were playing. After the theme was Ritual, we spent a very short amount of time coming up with the idea, and basically just focused on actually making something we could finish in the time. And then we came up with Curvish, which surprisingly, I think, won Best Gameplay. And then after that, the focus was, we might actually have something here, so we could take it to a few other places. And Igda set up the play parties after the game jams, which we went to. So.
But yeah, we never expected to win anything going forward. So we came in, we were all MSc students at the GSA, the DDS, Digital Design Studio, and we're all on a games course there. So we all met in September, and we thought we'll go in for a couple of days and we'll make something just quickly. We'll get it finished and we'll have a little mechanic that we can maybe play with in the future a little bit, or we can just have in the portfolio. But when it won Best Gameplay, we thought, well, actually maybe there's something that people enjoyed there. And then we brought it to the play parties at Glasgow. So it was here, wasn't it, the Glasgow one, and in Edinburgh at Hemmer, and the audience voted it as best game as well. And we thought, well, maybe there is something here. We never really, again, we still thought, well, actually, this is just a small prototype that we made in a couple of days. But people were asking when there's going to be more levels. So we made a 7-level game to start off with. We've got a quick trailer to show you. And it wasn't until later on we thought we should actually add more levels and more gameplay. If I can get out first. So this is the original trailer, which we submitted to the Game Jam website on the Sunday at the end of the Game Jam. It's amazing how intense that is actually. I forgot how fastly edited it is. I think it reflects what we were feeling like during the last day of the jam. So it was 25 hours we worked out. So it did have a period for sleep in the middle there of a few hours, but we had 25 hours solid, obviously times 3. So we had this kind of frantic, by the Sunday we'd actually finished the prototype by the Saturday night. So Sunday it was just polish and get things ready. The game itself, you have to rotate the world clockwise and anti-clockwise, and you have to collect red, green and blue tokens. So you pilot this small little cube that flies around and then collects the tokens. I don't know how apparent it was there, but we've obviously kept working with the mechanic since then. Yeah, do you want to see the expo?
So Daniel got us tickets to Display Expo North, which is our first bigger exhibition, which came like a warm-up for EGX. Went up there.
It's like a media and creative industries conference for any of you who don't know.
Yeah, I think before it was just music, but this year it was open to games as well. So we were in the games room, the other Game Jam winners as well. It was the first sort of feeling of what it's like to take something you've made to somewhere that everyone's got a finished game and everyone's got quite good games. Some of the games there were really good. It wasn't just games, so it was a bit different compared to like EGX and things like that, but it was a good experience to sort of warm us up to EGX. Because you basically have to take a game, stand beside it and talk about it all day to complete strangers, which is a bit weird, especially when a month ago we'd made it a game jam.
Yeah, and it's, as you know, I said before, it didn't feel like it was a game at that point still. We'd made a few levels and it was playable, but maybe that was the turning point when we thought actually people could play this and this could be a full game. So, Transfuser, this was the big one, and we saw, I think we came across it maybe on the Scottish Games Network on Facebook, and what Transfuser was a government funding project which offered £5,000 to recent graduates, such as ourselves. It was actually for recent undergraduates, but we were eligible because of when we'd finished our undergraduate degrees. And what they said was put in an application form, show us if you've got a prototype already, put that in. If you don't, put in your ideas. And we put in that trailer, we put in a big spiel about what it was and how we were going to do the budget for it, what we're going to spend £5,000 on, all these different things, and we got awarded it. So that must have been 4 months ago or so. And what they were funding was a 10-week development process. So we had the three of us working on this project for probably half of 10 weeks because we had master's thesis to finish each, which was a big juggling act and a nightmare. But we got the master's thesis done, and then we spent 5 weeks making the full version of Curvish. Should I play the trailer?
It was also the first time Transfuser's ever run, so if you're about to graduate, definitely apply for it. It's a really good opportunity, and at the end you get to see your game to EGX, regardless of how you do, which is pretty good.
So by the end of Transfuser, this was the version of the game. It has 21 levels at this point. Plug them out later on, don't worry. Yeah, so do you want to say a bit about Transfuser? Before we move on to EGX?
No, so Transfuser, it's 10 weeks development, providing you're actually free for the 10 weeks, and £5,000 to spend on...
As a game guy, long time no see, it's TK. I haven't been doing any videos lately.
£5,000 to spend on pretty much what you want. You can only spend it on the game, but that covers quite a lot of costs. You can spend it on licenses or software or whatever. It's really good. It's sometimes quite stressful, but maybe not if you've got 10 weeks to spend on the game. But it's a really amazing opportunity. It's only first year it's ran, so I definitely recommend doing it next year, because it's going to run again next year. And at the end you get to go to EGX and potentially pitch for £25,000, which would finish the game.
So, yes, the next thing was EGX, and we were there exhibiting we went down on Wednesday night, set up in Birmingham, and then had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to exhibit. There's 75,000 people go to EGX. So we walked in, and you guys arrived sooner to set up, but when I arrived on the Thursday morning to the actual stand, I realised there was Sega over there, and there was Sony, PlayStation, and there was all these amazing big companies, and that was maybe the point where we went, actually, this is a big deal now. This is the real thing. It was quite not scary, but daunting, the fact that there's essentially a lot of gamers there expecting a certain type of experience, and we'd spent a total of 5 weeks and 2 days on this project. Going there, yes, we're in the indie section, and players are a bit more forgiving, and they don't expect huge queues, but they want something that's playable and good. Yeah, do you want to say about EGX?
If you do Transfuser and you do get to EGX, or you get to EGX with your own game, it is pretty hard going, I think, if you're there for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then potentially staying on Sunday right till the end. You have to stand beside your game from 9 in the morning to set up till 7:30 at night every single day, and someone always has to be beside the game to make sure everyone understands it. it's quite tough, but it's really good, especially when 5 weeks and 2 days work ago we didn't have a game, and now we're beside Sniper Elite, the new Call of Duty, Destiny, which is a bit surreal, I think, when you first go in and see all the stands for all these amazing games that you probably play or are going to buy, and you're there with your game jam game that was only 5 weeks and 2 days work away.
Alan, was there anything you want to say about EGX?
The hardest part of EGX is because we are standing there all day, and lots of good games is out there just in front of your eyes, but you can't really play it because you're too busy with it. So
You got to play Final Fantasy 15 though.
for 15 minutes.
You generally take shifts beside the game, so 2 people go off and play something else and then come back again.
Because of with EGX and Transfuser as well, Transfuser took 15 teams there, so they funded 20 teams, I think it was, over the UK. So there were a bunch of different regional hubs, and Brian and the GCU ran the one that we were at. But they were from all over the country. There was, all the big cities had teams that represented them. 6 of those teams were chosen from judging. So judges came through for the first couple of days at EGX, and they asked us loads of questions about the game. They asked us about the commercial viability of the game and all of the kind of business stuff that, again, we hadn't really thought of. And they say, so what's your price point? What's your target audience? How are you going to release this, your platforms? All these questions that by the end of the conference we had good answers for. So it was a good chance for us to flesh out answers in our heads as well. We were selected to be one of the 6 teams to pitch for the UK Games Fund. And so that was announced on the Friday night, which meant that we had Saturday and Sunday to be around all the other teams that weren't picked and try and not look really smug and really pleased with ourselves. And then yesterday and Monday we prepared a pitch, and I want to say a bit about today.
Yeah, so we had 2 days when we're back. Alex was working the 2 days, so we got back on Monday morning, and Monday and Tuesday Alex was working, I was working on Tuesday, so we don't get a lot of time to prepare the pitch. It's quite stressful, especially when on Wednesday morning you're going to pitch for pretty much finishing the game easily. Quite daunting. Prepare, make sure you've got an accurate budget, you don't go way over the number they're going to give you. Make sure you know your target market, make sure you know everything about the platforms you're going to release on in terms of what percentage of people actually buy these kind of games, who the competitors are. I think doing the SWOT analysis.
We did a SWOT analysis on the teams. We're looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and looking at, again, all these things I said about before, the price point and the platforms and the schedule for release as well. So all of these things that we didn't really, in the pitch, they didn't really want to talk about the game. They'd already seen the game and they already thought there was some merit in the game to be released. So what they were interested in was how we're going to sell this product, and we can only hope that we've done a good job today, so we'll find out tomorrow.
Even when we're being judged at EGX, people saw the game and they either liked to look at it or they didn't really care about. I mean, it wasn't gamers that were telling us if the game was good or if we were going to get more funding. It was mostly business and marketing people. So know all your stuff before you go down, or before you talk to anybody about publishing your game, because they don't really care about the game. I think we found out if it looks good enough, they just want to know the numbers.
We had some journalists or some people doing things to camera where they would stand there with the controller and they would pretend to play. We've had people come up and say, "Can we pretend to play your game?" And I'd say, "Pretend to play," and they'd say, yeah, go ahead. And they had a camera, or they had 5 people come up in t-shirts that have the brand of their their YouTube channel, whatever it is, and they just pretend to play, take some photos, and they're off. And so I'm assuming there's some Snapchat or not Snapchat, be it Instagram or whatever it is. I'm sure my old man before my time here, where they've put up some feed of all these games that they're pretending to play and they go around. So it was a very strange environment, but it was one that taught us an awful lot about the game itself and it as a product, which we have to realistically think about as well. I think that's us. But yeah, we'll find out tomorrow what's going to happen. And obviously plug the green light as well. So we're on green light at the minute, and we're about half the way there in terms of getting voted. And we're obviously looking for more votes all the time. So if the trailers look interesting, please give us a vote.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Great. Thanks. And any questions, if anyone's got any questions about anything, really. Yeah.
Just making sure I've got this right. With transfuser, is it during the first stage, once you pitch and you get awarded the 5k, is that when you get to go to EGX?
Yes.
Not necessarily.
Is that because you've got to get through the 10 weeks?
Yeah, so
right. Yeah.
20 teams get picked, and I think 16 max go, maybe more next year. I don't know if it's because the stalls are quite expensive at EGX and they can't afford to take everyone, or if some of the games don't turn out good enough to sort of be shown, because transfusers also have to say to themselves, well, we can't just show loads of bad games. So, but it's fairly certain. If
I think the issue with a lot of the other games, though, if things weren't, so I think it was 23 or something, so, right? So that a bunch of different teams entered and were given the first half of the funding, and then they have a midway review, and so you put that in. If they think you've done enough work to justify the next £2,500, they'll give you that as well. Teams that don't fall out, teams that had a good idea to begin with, teams that somewhat know what they're doing, will be fine through all those stages. I highly doubt that.
I think the only teams that didn't get through to EGX were the ones that fell out. So I don't think there was any games that weren't good enough to be at EGX.
And that's usually because people haven't worked together as well before. So we knew each other from the September from the Masters programme, and it's been about a full year today, really, before we started working together at the GSA. So any teams that already know what they're doing together a bit and can make a decent enough game can go to EGX and show it off, which is really cool. Yeah, Brian?
So, as part of the process, do they stop you doing anything else, like the transfers of people in terms of like, putting things on Greenlight, for example? Do they recommend that, or is that something you're doing on your own back?
They don't encourage specifically Greenlight, so they don't say, here's a list of things you should do. They do promote social media presence, so they say, have your Twitter and your website and all these other things set up. But they don't necessarily say, you should be doing this, you should be using these platforms, you should be speaking to these people. But then, when we told them, we went on Greenlight, did all these things, they thought they were the right things to be doing. And obviously they want the games that they fund to succeed, because it's part of their remit for giving out public funding, that they're trying to encourage indie talent. Makes sense.
I was just going to ask. So being on Greenlight in time for EGX seems like a very good idea. Was that a deliberate plan, or was that just...
That was a big debate, I think, before. We didn't know if we should try and get some sort of following before we go on Greenlight, because it's better to get a lot of votes in a short amount of time, rather than have to climb when you're on Greenlight. We spoke about it quite a lot, and we thought if there were going to be 75,000 people there, we might as well just go for it. We didn't have a massive social media presence, 50 followers on Twitter.
No social media presence, really.
So through the 10 weeks, start promoting as soon as you've got something to show. We didn't until I think we actually finished Transfuser, and we got the trailer done, and we had some good screenshots of the game. So that was something we definitely struggled on. As soon as you've got something good to show, not just something to show, put it out there, start, spamming Twitter, spamming Facebook, because that's somewhere we went wrong. We did that a bit late, and then did it on the Wednesday. Mm-hmm. On the Wednesday when we actually went down to EGX.
It's perhaps one of the necessary evils as well, because we see ourselves, or at least I do, I think I maybe speak for you both as well, that we see ourselves as game developers primarily, and not business experts, and not marketing experts, and not social media guys. So it's trying to get into that mindset as well. It's becoming more natural now, but at the start it was maybe a bit of a challenge. We think, well, what do we put on Twitter? What do people want to see? And now we find that actually there's people who play the game at EGX messaging us on Twitter, or they're doing blogs on their own personal video game blogs. And so it all keeps coming back, and we respond, and it's actually just a conversation. Yeah.
Did you form yourselves as a company? And at what point did you decide to become a company? And what steps did you go through?
So the second question's not applicable, because we haven't formed as a company yet. Transfuser didn't stipulate we needed to form as a company for the first part of the funding. If we are selected tomorrow, then we'll have to form as a company ASAP to get everything above board. But that's not necessarily right this instant. But come the morning, it may be. Depends what happens. Yeah.
And during the 10 weeks of transfusion, do you get some sort of support apart from a hub to work?
So we didn't really get to make the best use of all the resources that were offered. Brian offered us office space, essentially, or studio space, at Glasgow Cowley. We didn't get to use it very much because, as I say, we're finishing off the master's project. Alan is based in Glasgow, and Callum and I are now in Edinburgh. So there was a lot of travelling back and forth if we wanted to meet on things as well. So mostly we actually just work from home. We use Skype and emails and Google Drive and source control, obviously, to make everything work. So in terms of the resources, we were offered a lot of things. We didn't make best use of them, but we definitely would do if we had the chance in the future, yeah. And other teams who apply for Transfuser, if they get the resources offered as well, should definitely take them.
Yeah, there was a couple of teams that both had the same hub, and I think they worked really well together. They were both using Unreal. Both games looked really good. Working beside another team who's doing the same competition must be great, especially if you only live like 10 minutes from the hub. But we couldn't really do that.
And they were using each other as testers as well, so they were saying, well, can you play this and tell us how it feels, or how does this look? And so for them it became this way of feeding back into their own development, which we were a bit isolated, but we managed to make it work anyway, so we're okay.
So, as much as you say you're not really game developers, would you say that coming out, or basically out of uni, were there any sort of soft skills that you think you would like to have been taught, or would have you been like game developers working as basically a 3-person unit that have taught as part of the sort of curriculum, or anything you think anybody working there should be taught, like say marketing is a soft skill that, as far as we're isn't really taught in game dev sort of courses? So is there anyone that you think might be worth, say, universities taking forward and introducing, especially if people wanting to form their own companies, forge it on their own without joining a bigger one?
Alan, what do you think? Putting you on the spot. I only asked that because with you doing undergrad in Indonesia as well, I wonder what kind of things that are taught there and whether there's a certain thing that differs from here.
Not necessarily difference, but can't really tell. I mean, it's just good to have, speak to people, know new people from, different kind of backgrounds, publishers, marketers, even developers. So yes, it's a good thing.
Most of the advice we got in that area was from people at EGX, some of the judges, some of the indie devs who had been published. So yeah, I'd say it would be good to have how to publish your game and market it optional, because it doesn't make a difference if you're going to work for a bigger company or for indie, yeah.
And for some of the courses as well, we got a lot out of the course that we did. If we had to have taken time away from certain modules, say if it was for doing programming or working on certain projects or audio modules, we might have taken away from those if we were to do a marketing module or how to, these soft skills things, how to interact with player bases and things. It might have been annoying if we're in the middle of a nice development project to pull time away from it. I think in undergraduate course, I didn't do game dev in undergrad. There's probably a lot more time for it given the 4 years, and so you have one module in a term where you can explore those things.
Sorry, can I just clarify? You think you're not a game developer, or is that what you
No.
Because you've got a degree in game development.
No, that's not what I might have missed that. No, what I said was that we're primarily game developers.
Oh, okay.
We're not marketing guys. We're not business guys. We're not all these other things that we had to be for this project. Well done. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.